Hi, I'm Hayes.
And I'm Layla. And
And
we're
we're
blind.
I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Because we didn't either.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. I am Hayes,
And I'm Layla.
and today we are going to be talking about the myths that people make about blind people.
I think a lot of these myths honestly stem from ignorance or fear or stereotype. Like a lot of them are also stereotypes, but we're just here to kind of debunk them and tell you what is and what isn't true. So if you believe any of this, or if you have believed any of this at the beginning of this episode, it's all right. Don't believe it going forward. If
Some of
we
the
if we
stuff
debunk it.
are even things that my parents probably believed at one point, so
I know.
we just want to spread some good information out there.
Yeah. So also the way we are doing this episode is actually kind of I'm a little nervous, but we have both we both kind of have a list of myths that we're going to do, and the other person doesn't know it. So we are going to alternate reading our myths, and the other person is going to have to debunk them. So just a more fun surprise, putting each other on the spot episode.
Absolutely.
So, Hayes, would you like to go first, or would you like
Sure,
me
I
to go
can go
first?
first.
All right, go
Okay.
ahead.
So, blind people use sign language to communicate.
Yeah, so blindness and deafness are honestly one of the two of the most opposite disabilities. And this is no knock against deaf people because deaf people are great. But blind people use their hearing for a lot of things, and deaf people use their sight for a lot of things. Sign language is a very visual language. So while, yes, blind people can learn sign language, you can sign into their hands, or you can sign, like they can learn the signs by feeling you. Sign language is probably the most visual language out there. Therefore, that is actually one of the opposite things that blind people use. So, no,
Yeah,
we do
definitely
not, in
not the
fact.
the ideal way of communicating, but
Yeah.
quite a few people think that is how we communicate.
Yeah.
So,
So for me, this was the first myth that popped into my mind when we, had this idea for this episode. When blind people meet someone, one of the first things they'll do is to feel your face.
no. This is most definitely not true for a lot of reasons. First off, feeling your face doesn't really do anything for me. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really care what your face looks like if you're a nice person, which is honestly probably one of the best things about being blind. But secondly, I think you would be pretty uncomfortable if I walked up to you and just started like feeling your face. Like, you'd be like, what if she has germs on her hands? Why is this girl touching my face? Because if someone came up to me and did that, I like my personal space. I would not be too happy. So we really don't want to put people in that awkward position, but also we just don't really need to.
Yeah, I think for knowing what people look like to me is not their hair color, eye color, facial shape, whatever I would get from feeling their face. It's like the sound of their voice, their personality, sometimes like scent. If someone has a distinct scent that they always like smell like or whatever, or like whatever. But feeling faces is not necessary for
No.
communication.
And
So
because we
yeah.
recognize, like most blind people recognize people by their voices, or at least that's what
Mhm.
I do, and
Yeah,
quite a few
me too.
blind friends I know. And so, we're not going to walk up to your face and touch you and be like, "Oh, this is Mary," but we may just like hear your voice and then know who you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do just want to say really fast. Okay, feeling faces is kind of a valid thing to think though, because we do get a lot from touch. I will say the other day I got asked something that I had never been asked before. My aunt asked if I wanted to feel her toes because she was talking about how short and stubby her toes were. So therefore, me feeling her toes would have gotten me what she was talking about. I declined, but it is a valid thing to think. A lot of things we do get through touch, just not that. So, yeah. Anyways,
Absolutely.
Hayes, go ahead.
Okay, so my next one is that when you first meet a blind person, so kind of on the same realm as yours, it is necessary to ask them how many fingers they are holding up to prove their blindness.
Oh, this one makes me mad. So, for some reason, what happens, I will say, "Oh, yeah, I'm blind. I can't see anything at all." The first thing that people will say, and not everyone, but the first thing that a lot of people say is, "Can you tell me how many fingers I'm holding up?" So, I guess I think what Hayes said was it's to prove like this person is actually blind. You should never have to ask, like, I know that there are people on the internet and people places that like fake disabilities and mental health things, and that's a topic for another time. You should never ask for proof when someone says they have a disability, especially blindness, which sometimes, not all the time, sometimes is a very visible disability. If they use a cane, if they wear glasses, if they're not looking at you. Now, that's definitely not all the time and not most times either, but sometimes, especially with complete blindness, it's a very visible disability. So asking how many fingers I'm holding up and like having them guess, even if they guess it right, doesn't mean that they're not blind. I personally just don't guess anyway because that's playing into what you're asking me. And yeah, so that's just not something you should ask anyone to prove their disability to you. But especially that, and also because to me, it kind of feels like I'm this like circus sideshow, like this is Layla who can guess the fate, like who can feel my fingers with her mind and guess how many I'm holding up. Like that is not what we are doing. So just don't ask that, please.
If you're a little kid meeting me, then I'm gonna be a lot more lenient with like not
Exactly. No,
caring.
I agree.
Cause like, when I would be like in elementary school out on the playground, like I would have like a kindergartner come up to me and be like, "What's a stick for?" And I'd be like, "Well, it's called a cane and I'm blind." And I would explain it to them and I used to get like, like, well, how many fingers am I holding up then? And like that's fine because they're young and they don't understand, but I've had people that are way too old to be asking that question ask me that before, and that's when I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like
Me too. Me too.
I said I can't see. Like
Not
I
that I
definitely don't
can.
know how many
Like,
fingers you're holding up.
exactly. Okay, so my next myth that we have actually talked about before on this podcast, but I just wanted to bring it up again, is every time you say like blind or visually impaired, like a blind person, they can't see at all. They're all completely blind, just like me and Hayes are.
Yeah, so like I said on the last episode, I personally know a lot of people that, still consider themselves blind and still are legally blind, but they do have, pretty usable vision and may be able to walk around without using a stick, aka the official name, a cane. Um, yeah, that's what that is, just to clarify. Or they may be able to read, uh, just normal print without having to have it enlarged or use braille. So there's definitely a lot of different, types of blindness, a lot of different vision levels. So blind can mean a lot of things. So if there's someone that you're seeing out on the street and they're asking for like help, like, "Hey, is this like a Chick-fil-A?" Because they're trying to walk there and they want to make sure they're going to the right building. And you see them like looking at you or not using a cane, that doesn't instantly mean that they're like lying about their blindness. They could just not see enough to read the sign and certain light and that kind of thing. So,
hmm And that goes kind of back to the thing I talked about earlier was like blindness isn't always a visible disability. Like sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. So like you should never, say like, "Oh, you don't look blind." Like you don't look blind enough to be blind. Like blindness is a spectrum. Everyone, shows it in different ways. Everyone has different abilities and disabilities to do with their vision. So blindness is definitely a spectrum.
yeah, I've definitely been told before that I don't look blind, and I am completely blind. So, I don't really know how that could be, but I think it's just the fact that most people, don't look blind. Like there may be certain things we do that, you may like notice, but when I was in, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I did virtual school. And so I was just on Zoom. And since I wasn't like moving around or like doing much, like I've realized that like most of my classes had no idea that I was even blind, which is really crazy since that's something that I would never be able to hide in public school. And so that was really interesting to see how that happened.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Okay,
I think
my
it's your
turn, right?
turn. Yeah, I
Okay,
think
yeah,
so.
yeah. Sorry. I was like, when's she gonna go? But yeah, it is
Yeah,
my turn.
no, it's you.
Okay, so my next one is that all blind people either have a guide dog or if you know that they don't and they're like too young to want to have a guide dog.
So, yeah, not true. I will say for me, I do want to get a guide dog, but I wouldn't say I'm in a minority, but I also would hesitate to say that I'm in a majority because I don't know the stats either. Guide dogs are not for everyone. I mean, it's great. Yeah, you get like it's not a cane, it's smarter. It's like a smart cane almost, but it's not a GPS. You still have to know exactly where you're going. And you have to take care of a whole nother living thing along with yourself. And while blind people definitely can be pet owners as well as guide dog owners, that's definitely not for everyone. There's also a lot of like you can have trouble getting them into stores or restaurants, even though the law permits. Sorry, even though the law permits service dogs to go anywhere they want, or anywhere that their person goes. Not everyone is always uh I'm so sorry, guys. I can't think of the right words. I'm sorry. Not everyone
Accommodating?
is, yes, yes, thank you.
Okay.
Not everyone is always accommodating of that. So it's definitely very hard. So not all blind people have to have a guide dog either. I know very successful blind adults who just use a cane or who don't like having guide dogs but have very successful lives and travel everywhere anyway. So that is definitely not the case.
Yeah, I don't know if I want a guide dog. Like, I love dogs, and it's not the fact that I don't want to take care of a dog
She
because I
wants to be a
do want
dog
my
mom.
own. I do want to be a dog mom, and I have a dog that I've had since I was like 4 years old.
He's so
She's
cute.
getting old, but I just don't necessarily know. I walked with a guide dog before, and it was a lot of fun, but I don't think that that's what I want to do just because I kind of, you have to take the dog everywhere and I just kind of want to be able to do that on my own. But I do think a guide dog is a great opportunity for everyone, and I may change my mind later on down the road. But right now, where I'm at in life, even though I would be too young, anyways, I don't think that's something that I am going to pursue. But we'll see what happens in the future. So, but not everyone does have to have one to be successful. So,
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of different stances on that in the blind community as well. So this next one is something that I get asked a lot. I don't really know I guess I get the psychology behind it, but I don't know where it comes from because this is a question that I get from a lot of people. Like probably one of the most common, if not the most common questions I get is do you have better hearing, touch, smell, taste, etc. because of your lack of sight? So my myth is that blind people have heightened senses to make up for their lack of sight.
okay, I kind of figured this is what you were going to ask because
Yeah.
this is actually the most common question that like I've ever been asked also. So the answer is no. Unfortunately, we don't. That would be kind of cool if we did. But I want to say that we do pay attention to that stuff more. And so I think that's why people think that. So sometimes I do hear things better than like the rest of my family members, or like I'll be in the back of a classroom and everyone else is like, I cannot hear the teacher at all. And I'm like, really? So I think that's just because I'm tuned in more to it. It's not like a physical thing, like we were blessed with higher levels of senses. I think it's just more of the fact that we pay attention to that more since sight is the main sight, that not main sight. Sight sight is the main sense that people use. And so that's the number one thing when they walk into a room, they're focused on what does it look like? When they meet a person for the first time, what do they look like? And so since that's not something that I'm able to focus on, I focus more on the sound of the room, the way the room smells, that type of thing, and I'm more used to like paying attention to that versus what you guys would pay attention to, the site, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Also, I'd like to apologize for the bird sound in my background. I have a bird clock that makes a bird sound every hour. So I would like to apologize for that. I don't have a bird, unfortunately. Anyways, I was just going to add what I always say to people is if we took a hearing test, I would probably get a similar why? Okay, my Siri just went off. I wasn't talking to you. Anyways, if we took a hearing test, I would probably have a similar score to you. I mean, maybe a little bit higher, but I would probably have an equal score to you. Right now, I am probably hearing more than you as a sighted person because you're paying attention visually and I'm paying attention auditorially or whatever else that is. So,
Very true.
yeah.
Because also, most blind people like listen to things like their phones and stuff, since our phones read things out to us at like a really high speed, because
Mhm.
no one wants people to like listen to their
To their
texts since they
phone.
have to be read
Yeah.
aloud to us.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's a thing only blind people can do. It's just because we've trained ourselves since the only way we can consume things is listening. So it's
Hmm.
just like if you read more, you're gonna get faster. If we speed things up, you're gonna get faster at like listening to them. And
Hmm.
so some people don't do that, and
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
like to be like, oh well, I listen at 85%. What do you listen? Oh well, I listen to it at 100%. No, you don't. I don't believe, we will kind of have
Oh yeah.
arguments over that. um but it's just something that we've decided that, or not we, but like some people,
Some people decide it's
including
helpful.
both of us, that we've decided we
Yes.
wanted to do since we can't like read.
The only problem with that is when we're together, we listen at the same speed, so we
Oh
can both
yeah.
hear each other's text, so there's no privacy unless
There
we
is
put
no
earbuds
privacy.
in, but it's
But
all
we've like
right.
looked at each other's texts
Yeah, we've
anyway,
looked
so
through each
it's
other's phones
fine.
anyway,
It's
so
fine.
it's all right. Anyway, it's your turn, I
Yeah, so
think.
I guess
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
can, we're probably getting close to time to end, so we can
I
finish
do have a
with
mic
one more.
drop one if I
Oh, you
can
have a
use
mic.
my mic
Okay, then
drop
I'll
one.
go and then
I
you
have
do
a
you do your mic drop
okay.
one. Okay.
Okay.
All blind people are socially awkward.
So one of us is, no, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
Sorry.
you're not wrong.
It's
You're
fine.
not I'm
Hayes, we
not
love
that
you.
socially awkward, but yes,
Just
I
a little
am.
bit.
I am
We love
very
you.
shy and quiet.
It's okay. We love you.
Layla's the opposite. She does not
I
know when to be
am.
quiet, but
I
we
know.
also still love Layla.
Yeah,
I love you,
I will
Layla.
talk to anyone about anything, and Hayes will meet someone. She's like, "Hi,"
Yeah,
and it's just
I'm
silent.
the quiet kid
But
at school. It's once I know you, I'm
anyways,
fine, but yeah.
anyways, moving on. Blind people are okay. So socially awkwardness. Whoa. I'm so sorry. Apparently today I can't talk. Blind people can't talk. That's the next myth that I'm proving correct today. Um, so social awkwardness and blindness, I don't think they have any correlation to each other. And while, yes, we've talked about this in a previous episode, we do miss out on some visual cues, like nodding, pointing, and just facial expressions and all those things. I wouldn't say that that makes us socially awkward just because we're blind. Blind people can interact with sighted people or blind people just like any sighted person could. I think a lot of the reason that sighted people think this is because eye contact is hard for a lot of us. And like, while yes, I face people when I talk to them, I don't always look at them because I can't control my eye movements. And I have something called nystagmus. I think I've said that before, where my eyes move uncontrollably. So I don't always look at you, which I think is something that people interpret as like, oh, they're being socially like inappropriate, which I understand, but yeah, social awkwardness definitely doesn't correlate to blindness. Sometimes they could be both, like Hayes, but it's
That
all
was
right because she
very
does all right.
targeted.
I
Come
love
on.
you.
I
Um
love you too.
but yeah, I think that's no, those aren't really related. So my last one that I
Okay.
think is really funny
Okay.
actually is I think this comes from the saying blind as a bat. All blind people walk around using echolocation just like bats do.
That is very true. I just like walk around all the time and I'm like, ooh, I sense that I have ketchup in my fridge. No, no. There is some people, like, if I'm like trying to like figure out where I'm at, I'm most likely not going to click like a bat. I may just, tap my cane,
Tap my cane,
stomp my
yeah.
feet a little bit. But so you can, it kind of does work. There are people that do just get around using that. I don't know how. I personally could not do that at the level I'm at right now. very
Yeah.
impressive.
I don't know if they just get around using that, but I know a lot of people that
I
use
think that
that
there's
a
that one
lot.
guy that is called like Batman, like Daniel something, I want to
Oh,
say.
I met him one time.
Oh,
If
you
you're watching
did?
this podcast, shout out to you. I don't remember your name, but I know I met you and we did a lesson on echolocation. So shout out to you if you're watching our
Yeah,
podcast.
so I think he just does, but
Maybe he does, but that's a very
different
low
topic.
minority. Yeah.
But so most people don't, but they like I personally can just hear just because of my walking and the sweeping of my cane, like if there's an opening, to my left or something, just based on the sound.
Hmm.
But no, we definitely can't. It's not like a superpower. We can just get basic information about our surroundings, and some people don't even use that at all. But a lot of times it's something you just instinctually pick up on, and it's not you just, while you're walking.
There,
It's
yeah. Yeah.
just more so of just noticing the way sounds around you react in an environment.
Hmm. So thank you guys for watching. If you believed any of these at the beginning of this episode, it's all right. Society as a whole, or a lot of society believes this about blind people. That's why we're just here today, kind of being silly, kind of being serious, debunking them. It's okay if you've believed any of this. It's all right. I just hope going in the future you will believe us when we say all the things we talked about today are mostly or always untrue. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed.
our
Remember,
episode.
if you enjoy this a lot, share it with a friend or two so that we can keep spreading the message of blind awareness and that we are perfectly capable of doing everything sighted people can do.
Yeah, thank you. We won't see you later.
We'll see you later.